Welcome back to the channel, guys. We have some big news for Diablo 4, man. They officially just finished up their dev live stream, and inside of it, they dropped a ton of information that is addressing the normal concerns that a lot of these players are actually having when it comes to Diablo 4 and some of the mechanics. They have made several announcements in this live stream talking about that the whole goal is for them to balance out all of the content across the game to make that any content that you are doing will be rewarding and not force you into feeling like you have to min-max and grind a specific dungeon because it's the most efficient. Instead, they're going to be trying to balance out all the other types of content to make it equal in value to the individual player. Additionally, here they also talked about buffing nightmare dungeons. With them being buffing nightmare dungeons, they want to make sure that in-game players, that is your go-to, and that is what you would find the most rewarding and the most efficient to farm. The nightmare dungeons will obviously take a sigil, and what they're doing to aid in, providing value to these nightmare dungeons is a couple of things. One, they're going to be adding the ability to teleport, utilizing your sigil now for the nightmare dungeon directly to the instance of the dungeon, basically removing the travel time completely. You can also do this by leaving that dungeon wherever you are in the world and then use another sigil once again to teleport you to the next one. So you basically can daisy chain up on your nightmare dungeons. Again, really good. The second buff that they're providing with nightmare dungeons is going to be boost to experience. They talk about this does not mean they're going to be adding a lot more mobs inside of the dungeons for nightmare, but instead just buffing the experience you get from the mobs and enemies that are currently already inside of those nightmare dungeons. Once again, providing value to running those versus running like the same old standard dungeons over and over again because it's the most efficient. Now, the second big thing that they actually address and talk about is the question that everybody is currently asking right now leading up to Season 1, and that is how many times are we going to have to repeat the renown system? Things like your altars of Lilith, getting all of those rewards, basically visually seeing the entire map, you name it. How many times are we going to have to do that when it comes from season to season? And Rod actually states, and Joey states in this live stream, that's not the case, that you're actually going to be able to get that one time on a character when it comes to a season and then carry that over from season to season. However, though, keep in mind, he does mention that when it comes to side quests, like the blue markers on your map, that you will still need to complete those every single season because they do obviously give you some experience for that individual character along with items that you could utilize at that point if you want to. Via the dev stream, it actually seemed like there was a little bit more of a confusion and not really, 100% settled on what the answer is going to be when it comes to the repeat content season to season, but it definitely is a huge answer and a huge W for Blizzard and Diablo team when it comes to not having to repeat this tedious content. Now, on top of the nightmare dungeons and the renown system when it comes to seasons, they also talked about a lot of buffs that are going to be coming out in patch fixes and hot fixes between now and Season 1, and then from Season 1 to Season 2. They also mentioned here that when it comes to buffs, they are looking at all of the feedback from the individual classes, looking at all of the data that they have on like which skills that people aren't using for the specific class, why are they not using them, is this skill this much weaker, etc. So we can expect a bunch of buffs coming down the pipeline very soon for all of the classes. I said this in previous video, guys, don't worry about the class that you're playing, pick and choose the best one that fits your playstyle and that you want to play, and I promise you Blizzard will take care of that class. It might just take a little bit of time in the future and some hot fixes, but eventually it'll get buffed. And then on top of all of this, they actually covered a ton of quality of life stuff that they have planned or that they are at least in the works on when it comes to future hot fixes and updates in the game. The very first one that I was mainly concerned with, and a lot of other players I know were, is the gems taking up a lot of your inventory space or your stash space. Well, they seem to have a fix for that. They're going to make it like you have your crafting materials in game, where it's not in your inventory, it's not in the stash, it's in like this infinite pocket that you have on your character that will just inevitably hold all of your gems. When you go to the gem crafter, for instance, it'll just show up there available for you to crunch those gems up just like you normally would, except now you have all the inventory space available. And honestly, I think this is a welcome change and I really would like to see it before Season 1. However, they did not confirm that it would be here before Season 1, so it might be a little bit longer, but that was a really big one that I wanted to point out. And then all the rest of them are kind of small stuff, everything from like, glitches and bugs that people are experiencing on like their hard, core characters, people dying via, teleporting back to town, or people, randomly lagging and glitching and dying, like just a variety of different bugs fixes that obviously they're going to, cater to and try to get those fixed as soon as possible, especially for people playing on hardcore. They then also talk about the cap on the materials and resources. So like if you don't know, but there's actually a cap on like veiled crystals. You can only hold so many veiled crystals. You get veiled crystals for breaking down like your yellow plus gear, and that's a big problem, right? Because if you're hoarding up your gear for a specific, item that you want to roll on or upgrade on, once you hit late game, you could be capped out and you can no longer pick them up, forcing you to spend them unnecessarily, right? Because you don't need to spend them if you're waiting and saving up for a specific item. So they're going to be addressing that, increasing the caps for those materials. And now as far as the rest of the live stream goes, they kind of just dabbled into some topics here and there when it came to like Q&A and some of the questions that people had in the live chat. The game's only been out for 10 days, so a lot of the questions were, new quality of life stuff, or, updates and fixes. Are you going to do more dev live streams? Things like that. So 100% they're going to do that stuff. It's a brand new game. I really think that the big wins here for Diablo are really the big factors that I pointed out. The changes to the Nightmare Dungeons, making it more appealing to in-game players, as that is the best way to farm experience and obviously farm out your gear, as that is specifically what Joey said via the live stream. And then also going to be not having to repeat the renown content every single season. I think a lot of players were worried about, playing a seasonal character and simply weren't going to if you had to repeat that content. So now that they've confirmed you don't have to, it's going to make seasons much more appealing to the broader audience, and going to allow players to now make a new character, not feel bad about it, and they can continue to progress through the season and get those seasonal rewards. But anyways, that's going to be it for me. You guys let me know what your thoughts are down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe here on the channel for everything Diablo 4 related. And with that being said, as always, I'll see you guys in Sanctuary.